Good morning for people in Canada, and good afternoon or good evening for people in other places. I am Sergio Grossi, and I am currently conducting research on education, reintegration and prison at the Institute of Criminology at the University of Cambridge and at the Violence Studies Center at the University of São Paulo. We are happy to count on the support of the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning and the Institute for Cooperation in Adult Education, and we thank them for supporting adult education in general and prison education in particular. Before beginning the presentation, I would like to point out two things. First, today's presentation will be in English with interpretation available in French, Spanish, and Italian. In order to listen to the language of your choice, you must select the correct channel by clicking on the interpretation module on Zoom interface. Secondly, our goal with this webinar series is to provide a space where the researcher and practitioner can share their knowledge and insight. We also want to allow members of the audience to ask questions to our panelists. That's why a significant portion of our time will be reserved for question and answer at the end of our time. You can then send your question during the webinar in English, Spanish, Italian, or French, and we will try to answer as many as possible. The presentation will be divided as follows. We will start with an overview of the supporting distance training and education in prison project. The second part will present an overview of each country context, starting with Italy and then Portugal, Netherlands, Spain, and France. In the third part, Antigone will present the outcome and the guideline of the project. The last part will be dedicated to answer questions. Now it is with great pleasure that I give the floor to Sara Contestabile from the L.I.N.C group in Italy and the European S.T.E.P program, and who will introduce you to today's topic of discussion, digital initiative in European prison.
Hello to everybody. Let's start to talk about S.T.E.P, supporting distance training and education in prison. S.T.E.P is an Erasmus Plus KA2 project founded by the European Commission in the field of VET, vocational education and training. The aims of this founding line is the exchange of good practices at European level. According to several studies, less than 25% of prisoners in Europe have access of training and vocational courses. But at the same time, as the document European rules, prison rules say, it's very important promoting training and vocational opportunities that meet the needs of individual prisoners. The idea of S.T.E.P was born during the first lockdown, during the pandemic, by a network of organizations that had been working for years in the European project and with prison, with the intention of supporting and enhancing the use of digital tools and distance learning in prison, supporting also the educators and the prison staff to acquire skills for the implementation of these tools. So we have an overview of the project. The project will last 2 years. It started in June 2021 and will finish in May 2023. We are in the middle of the project, in the heart of the project, and the leading organization is L.I.N.C, that which has years of collaboration with prisons in Livorno and Elba Island in Tuscany. And we are working for the S.T.E.P project with the Porto Azzurro prison in Elba Island. And the other partners are working in each country with a different prison. We have partners from Italy, Antigone organization, Form2U from Portugal, IFED from Spain, Changes and Chances from Netherlands, and Farapech from France. I won't say too much because later we will introduce themselves one by one. So the target group of the project, as you can say, are three: inmates, penitentiary staff, and educators. In order to make a change possible, the participation of educators and penitentiary staff is very important, as they are the who train the inmates and make the digital tools available. The project, as we say, will last 2 years and will be divided into 2 phases. The first phase starts in June and will finish in June 2022. And the second phase will start in August. Each organization have clearly defined roles inside the project STEP. And L.I.N.C, as leading organization, have the financial and organizational management activities. And each partner in his country is in charge to organize the activities with prison based on shared criteria. Antigone, as a scientific supervisor, is the coordination of the EO1, the research, and IFED is in charge for the dissemination. Form2U will be it's responsible for preparation and evaluation. So we can talk about the phase 1, and for each phase we have one intellectual output. It's results. And for the first phase, we have the research on professional digital course. And for each phase, we have work packages. And in this phase, we have 5 work packages. And we are at the end of this phase, and we are working on research, output, and dissemination. Antigone will show us the data that we have collected in these months later. And in this phase, we had 2 coordination meetings with prison in each country, the assessment preparation, the observation of e-learning course in each prison, and the evaluation of the work done. The second phase will start in August, and the intellectual output number 2 will be the guideline and training course. So we will build a specific training for prison staff and trainers to share the collection of best practices to improve and increase the quality of distance learning. We have 4 work packages, and there will be a coordination meeting with prison, and 1 international training and peer education in Netherlands in September. And then we will draw up a guideline, and we will disseminate it at European level. So all the work is carried out in a wonderful atmosphere of cooperation between the partners through efficient and constant communication through the digital tools. And we meet online every 2 months and to organize the work. And we meet face-to-face every 6 months in the transnational project meeting. So I have finished. Thanks from L.I.N.C, Antigone, IFED, Changes and Chances, and from to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sara. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for this opportunity to share our association and our work in S.T.E.P. I will start to introduce our associations from to you from Portugal. I'm the vice president, and I want to talk with you about, a few minutes about us. We work with schools, with children, with young people, with their families, with seniors, with inmates, young inmates and adult inmates, with the staff of the prisons. And we have several partnerships with other organizations at national and international level. The main goal of our work is to achieve all the people of our community in order to social inclusion, citizenship, and a better and healthy world. We born 3 years ago, just before the pandemic crisis. And in this time, we have the opportunity to work in the several national projects, also Erasmus projects, and specifically with the prison of Sintra. They are our partners in our work. We had a very important and a big project in the prison, a national one, about music and about self-knowledge. Was not easy to complete this project because of the pandemic and the lockdowns. It's so important for us to be in this project, but at the end, with the creativity and some work, we achieve a beautiful and very important project, and that it was an opportunity for us as an association to grow and to have more people in our network. First of all, I just want to say that we believe in the chain transmission, helping others, make these people help the people that are around themselves. So our target group are all the persons that can and need and use our expertise, our network, to have opportunities in their lives and to have choices. In S.T.E.P, okay, about S.T.E.P, it's as I said, and Sara told us, it's a very important project in this phase with all the crises that we are trying to fight. We are responsible for the research, especially in Portugal, to know better the situation in our country.
Per meglio conoscere ciò che succede nel nostro paese.
Can I?
Posso?
Perdimos.
Stiamo perdendo.
I will. It's okay, I think. We have this part of the research. We also are responsible to working with the prison in Sintra and with the staff of the school that teach inmates in this prison to establish the activities that are in the second phase of the S.T.E.P project. Also, of course, the dissemination, very important in these projects. That's why we are here today. To disseminate the research, the outcomes, and for the visibility and sustainability of the project. Now I will talk you a few about the situation in Portugal. Yeah, it is still far away from what we think that it will be a good situation. We are trying to understand why it's about the bureaucracy, even the system, the prisonal system itself, that it are creating resistance to these this kind of activities from learning, distance learning. We have the opportunity in our research and to know José António Marques Moreira, someone that is very important in this field, and collaborate with you in the interview for the newspaper. I would like to share a sentence that it's in that interview. It's from him. And here his opinion, he says the use of digital in prison is fundamental for the social reintegration of the imprisoned individual. It makes no sense today to be inserted in a digital and network society and have prisons that live exclusively in analogic realities. This is essential to develop in these citizens digital skills that promote social inclusion. We believe in this sentence, and we are working to understand how we can make clear to the system, the prison system, that this is so important, this digital learning distance, and to the advantages to use it, and the possibilities that we can achieve with the inmates and the staff through digital world tools and so on. So we also have the opportunity to visit Coimbra prison, when we could see these courses that is provided in Portugal. It's here. That is working in the university at a university level. We have this opportunity to meet one of the teachers that provides this digital learning, distance learning, to how to keep inmates connected to the outside world, in addition of working on their education. And that's it. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Good morning. My name is L.I.N.C, and we're going to represent the Netherlands, Changes and Chances. So I'm going to start the PowerPoint, our presentation, and my colleague Ed is starting with presentation. Wait one moment. Oh, okay.
Yes. Here's the PowerPoint. Hello, everybody. My name is Ed Santman. I work for a small organization called Changes and Chances. Actually, we have a core team of about 3 people, and Alice, who was also in this presentation, technically speaking, she's not part of our organization, but we share the same office and we collaborate. And I think for this meeting, she has a very interesting story to tell about how she works with computers in Dutch prisons, Dutch juvenile prisons mainly. But I will start talking a little bit about our organization, which is called Changes and Chances. And what we do is we do projects not only in prisons, although my background is in prison. I've been a prison teacher and later on a coordinator for about 15 years. And when I left the Dutch prison system, I started this organization, and we work with people at the edge of society. So we do projects in prisons, but we also work with young at risk, with homeless people, with drug abusers, well, refugees, you name it. And actually, sometimes there is a great overlap in the problems these vulnerable groups encounter. What we do is we work with the arts as a tool, and that might be a bit unconventional approach, but it can be very, very powerful. And we use the arts as a way to mainly to develop soft skills like collaboration, active listening, and reflective thinking, and others. So think of it this way, that if you work together with a group of people and you work on a theater piece, you have to be able to work with these soft skills, otherwise the theater piece will be a chaos. So we work on theater piece, we have a lot of fun, but we reflect on soft skills. Very short, there's much more to tell about. And there's a few pictures on the screen, and the one on top is a project with ex-offenders that we did in the city of Den Bosch in the south of the Netherlands, where we made a sort of theater piece on two floating islands. And the theater piece was on a sort of raft which was floating through the city. It was a big thing. There were about 20,000 people who came to watch it. But as you can see, we also work with cooking and with films. We are currently involved in 3 prison projects, which one of them is of course a S.T.E.P project. The other 2 projects are on storytelling and on working with rap music in prisons. Rap music also as a tool on reflection on the past, the present, and the future. And I'm really looking forward to the outcomes of that project. So next slide. This is what we are responsible for in the S.T.E.P project: research and development, distant learning system in juvenile and adult prisons in the Netherlands, developing online tools in collaboration with prisons. We will work on the international training course, training for trainers and prison staff, share methodologies, and define useful criteria for organizing professional distance learning courses in a closed environment. And of course, we will work on the dissemination, organizing multiplier events, and promoting the methodology and the tools in our network. So the next 2 slides, I think Alice will present them. Alice, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ed. So I'm Alice. I'm the director of Click of One. We are an education organization, and we are specialized in developing blended learning environments, secured blended learning environments in all youth detention in the Netherlands, and in the big National Youth Care Institute in the Netherlands. And also with the next 2 years, we have an Erasmus project with some partners in Portugal, and with the Federal Justice in Belgium and the Youth Care in Belgium, building such a platform for vocational training. So how do we build these secured environments? How are they constructed? There are 3 parts, 3 important parts. The first part is the platform. This is a web-based platform with all kinds of information, tutorials, lessons, etc. in a sort of pathways like education, reintegration, daily news, sport. An editorial team of students and colleagues update these 4 days a week, and every institute has its own platform, and it's secured for the outside world with by IP address and users account. So outside you can't come on the website. And the second part are Chromebooks. We developed a system to completely reorganize the secured environment in these Chromebooks on different levels. And the platform and these different levels co-respond with each other, so that it's a very clear database for young people to guide the right information on the right time in the right situation. And the third part is that the mentors in these institutes have 2 authenticators, a kind of USB sticks, with which they can unlock these different levels of whitelisting. So how does this whitelist, what kind of whitelists do we have? For your information, I think everybody knows a whitelist is that you don't have access to any website, only the ones whose we access in the whitelist. The opposite is the blacklist. You can go to every website, only not the ones who are on this blacklist. So we work with 3 or 4 whitelists. The first whitelist is a high secured level, and this is so when youngsters can use these Chromebooks in the cell or without supervision, and they can read papers, they can read books, they can search information, and they can find workouts, etc. The second whitelist is the education whitelist. They give access to all kinds of websites, learning material, online learning environments. For example, when they work in the school, the teachers in the school use these Chromebooks for their lessons or to give examinations or to give homework, to work with homework. Then we have the Back to Society whitelist. This is for the staff of the reintegration departments, and under supervision, the youngsters can work on their way back into society. So they can organize and look at all kinds of practical information about housing, money, etc. And then we also have a fun and video whitelist. So when youngsters have free time, they can look a film together on Netflix or Disney Plus. And now we experience with blacklist, also with blacklists, for example, in half-open departments. So in this way, we can use the Chromebooks and the platform and the online learning environment in very much different ways, but also always in a secured way. Thank you.
I am Hervé Romieux from Therapage NGOs, which is a federation of NGOs involved in prison justice area. As a federation of 40 NGOs, Therapage is active inside and around most of the prison in France. This NGO provide activities to people in prison, support their families, host and coach some people released from prison. This federation itself advocates prison cause and to the administration, political staff, and society in general. The role of, for S.T.E.P project, we have identified a specific site which was the first experimenting e-learning in prison in France. An experimentation as part of collaboration between the Grand Penitentiary Center and the University of Normandy. It seemed interesting to us to analyze in details how it works, interactions between teachers and students, difficulties that they met, student satisfaction, and finally sort out some takeaways and good practice drawn from this experiment. Regarding the distance learning in prison, we have in France 3 major actors working in this field. The first is the NGO Auxilia, which is the main player. Teachers are volunteer but professional. The lessons are individual and very diversified, but targeted to the need to the prison population. Auxilia mainly uses paper format, but wishes to invest cautiously in the digital field. Another actor is university. Basic concept is providing the same training as those of other students prevented from university, taking into account the ban of internet in prison. And at least the third actor is the national education, which is taking advantage of installation of the intranet everywhere in the prisons. National Education uses the same e-learning platform that they use outside the prison. At this stage, our study leads us to sort out the following takeaways. The first one over 6, the e-learning technology used in the specific prison is a wonderful example of a successful collaboration between prison administration, Caen University, Normandy region, National Education, and also NGOs. This local collaboration is often shown as an example. The second point is that the students in detention will benefit from the same training catalog and content as other students prevented from the Caen University. Third point, students benefit also from a significant face-to-face support delivered by committed teachers working in the prison or retired from university. Number 4, significant human resources are deployed in both prison and university as to compensate for the ban of an internet connection in prison. Number 5, the learning platform in the prison is available in one computer room only. This room just opens 3 afternoons a week and outside school holidays. This space is not, of course, this space is not compatible with higher education. And at least number 6, during the COVID period, the synchronization of the learning platform in detention with that of the university was not done because nobody from a university could access the prison in that condition. Students lost several months of study and many got dispirited. As a conclusion, at this stage of the study, I would say that we have observed in Caen Detention Center a very high dropout rate. We lost 9 students over 10 in the last 12 months, despite the huge human investment in the project. This very high failure rate raises questions about how the specific learning conditions in prison and also the impossibility of communicating directly with teachers and peers will affect the motivation of the students in detention.
Thanks to all the partners for the presentation. I'm going to present L.I.N.C, the leading organization of this project. L.I.N.C, that means lavorare insieme nella communità, work together in the community, support organization, association, institution, and provide the necessary tools for the community empowerment. The action strategy we propose are context-driven. We never propose a predetermined solution. Our organization is composed of 2 souls, one related to services on the local territory, where we work with people in a marginal situation, like people in detention with physical or psychological disorder. And the other soul is that of planning both at local and European level. Our team is composed from different professional individuals from different kind of training in order to be able to find different solution in different contexts. So we have a solid network in Tuscany, in Italy, because we work on Elba Island, Livorno, Pisa, Firenze, and Prato. And we have also a lot of contacts with organizations from all over the Europe. And we can talk about the role inside the project S.T.E.P. L.I.N.C is the leading organization, as we say, and we have a lot of responsibilities. We maintain the relation with the national agency in Italy, and we participate at all the activities that the national agency organizes. We coordinate all the international project meetings in assistance to the host country. The next will be soon in Spain from 18 to 22 of April. And we are going to organize everything, logistic and meeting program. We are the coordinator of the multiplier events in Italy, but also in the other country. We have 2 multiplier events for this project. One will be in November in France, and the last at the end of the project in Italy. We do also all the graphic preparation for the informative material for the project, and the modules necessary for the activities, the preparation of report, and at least the management of payments and administrative deadlines. Just to talk about the work done with Pasquale De Santis in Porto Azzurro, in Elba Island. We have a lot of years of collaboration with this prison, and despite the pandemic, we managed to carry out all the project activities that this phase required, with the participation of the director, the penitentiary staff, and the educators. We had 2 coordination meetings face-to-face inside the prison, and then we have another meeting face-to-face to observe the distance, the one course organized by the University of Siena, and which is necessary to obtain the Italian citizenship. And at this stage, we're collecting all the data by the various organizations in the different countries. And later, Antigone will give us an overview of the research. So thank you for your attention, and I'll hand it over to my colleagues.
Then, okay, thank you for all the presentation. Then we can start to open to question.
No, sorry, we still have to present some parts, okay. But I cannot turn on the video. It says that the organizer has to do something to let me share the video. I'm Sofia Antonelli, Antigone.
Okay, then. Okay.
But I don't know what's happening. Okay, here I am. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay, I will. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, so I'm gonna briefly introduce our organization, which is Antigone. Antigone is an Italian NGO that promotes human rights in the criminal justice system since 1991. We do that through several means of actions. The first one, the most famous one in Italy, it's our monitoring of prison conditions through the work of 2 observatories, which every year enter within prisons and juvenile centers. Then we coordinate the European Prison Observatory, which is a network of 13 European countries working for prison conditions. Then we have an ombudsperson office and some legal desks inside several prisons in Italy. Through them, we provide legal help for prisoners and their families. Then Antigone is, of course, involved in several research projects, as this one, as S.T.E.P. And then we promote several strategic litigation and advocacy campaign. Okay, this is our role within the project. We are the coordinator and we are in charge of drafting the research. So we have drafted several materials which we have submitted to the partners, and then we collected the materials and we did the research, which I'm going to explain later on. Then we have the role of supervise all the partner activities. Now a brief, description of the situation in Italy about e-learning courses within prison. So as it concerns vocational training, in 2021, Antigone visited more than 100 prisons in Italy, and only 22 of them had vocational training going on at the time of the visits. But all the training have been carried out in presence. The only exception to our knowledge is the TRIO platform, which is a regional platform of the region of Tuscany in Italy. And it's a platform for e-learning and professional training, which offers a huge catalog of trainings. TRIO, it's really an exception in Italy, is not a common practice and has been active since the early 2000 in only a few prisons in Tuscany. It was interrupted due to the pandemic for a couple of years, but we know that it became operational again. As it concerns education, so unlike vocational training, online courses became more common in recent times after the outbreak of the pandemic. In fact, in several prisons, school activities continue to be carried out online through different video conferencing tools such as Zoom, Meet, etc. So in order to do so, new equipment was both by the administration and improvements to infrastructure were made in several prisons. So we think that this has been really helpful and could be used also to improve the educational training, the professional training in a distance way. Okay, so I don't know if now may I continue with the research phase, or probably there is also another partner of the S.T.E.P project, which should
yes,
present. Okay, Spain. Okay, so I'll leave the floor to Spain, and then I will come back with the research outcomes.
Thank you. Okay, hi everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Julia. I'm going to share with you our presentation from Spain. I'm a member of IFED Association in Granada, in the south of Spain. Our complete name is Asociación de Innovación, Formación y Empleo para el Desarrollo Sostenible. I will start, as my partners did, talking a little about our job and our work in Granada. And we are a local organization that focuses in the areas of training, culture, and employment in our city. We work hand in hand with other local, regional, and international agencies to organize cultural activities, trainings for innovation, and access to employment. Our association develops programs and activities that support employment. This is our main objective. And we encourage for the development and promotion of volunteer programs. Right now we have 5 volunteers in our association. So it's a very important point for us. And we integrate e-learning into education and professional trainings. We also try to bring citizens closer to the European institution through our participation in European programs and activities in our city, at least with young people to have a deeper relation with European institutions and European opportunities. After that, I want to speak a little about our roles and our work inside the project S.T.E.P in what we are talking about right now. And IFED is in charge of the dissemination by creating templates, monitoring the frequency and number of publication events, and other dissemination actions. So it's really, really important for our team to create a great and a real impact in our society and to give visibility as opportunities like this one we have already be part of. So this is a very important point of the project. After observation activities and analysis of e-learning training at the STEES, Social Insertion Center in Granada, which we work with, and we have produced context research and analysis on e-learning training in Spain and updates thanks to the grid. This is our observation tool of observation, our tool to observe during the projects. So this is a very important point too. And online modules for the e-learning course. So IFED, we have complete our task on the online course that is going to be one of the results of our projects. After that, I'm going to speak a little about our situation in distance learning in Granada. So we can say that the situation in Spain is concerning. In Spain, distance learning is not available to all prisons and centers, and access to distance learning is highly dependent on the efforts of external associations, volunteers, NGOs, or the fees that I have mentioned before. Is a very, very important meeting point for the inmates in our city, and they really do a great job with the inmates, and they work for this distance learning education. Especially in Granada, there is distance learning available for inmates thanks to this volunteer that I told you, a couple of inmates who work together on the creation and maintenance of the e-learning platform during their time in prison. I will talk a little after this platform that the inmates and the volunteer has created. This is a very impact in our city, in Granada, and a very great opportunity for the inmates that are in the FIS, in center of sorry, I can't say again in English, from the FIS. After the distance learning offline, okay, there are some resources available from the government, but the main obstacle is that the distance learning must be offline because there is no internet access inside the institution of the inmates. So we have to thanks a lot for the work that the people from the FIS has done with this platform. which is offline. So there is this is great. And learning basic education, languages, and TIC, for example, now is possible with this platform, which is offline, and is updated frequently. We can find modules about primary education, high school education, languages, to recover again your driving license, office IT, even university, but most of the inmates ask for primary education and languages and driving license. And it's very, very popular among the inmates because they are easily transferable for vocational training. So this is a great opportunity for them to have access to a platform which is offline, and yeah, to have access to all the modules that they want to find, because not everybody wants to learn about the same thing. So this is a very great opportunity for the inmates of our prison in Granada. I finished my presentation. I want to thank you again for this opportunity, and I give the floor to the next partner.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. Okay, so as I said, now we're gonna talk about the research that we are working on. The research should be finished in June, so we're still in the process of drafting it. And the research is a comparative research between the 5 partner countries aimed at investigating the functioning of distance learning in prison in different European contexts. It's important to say that the timing of this research, of the project in general, is quite particular because, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic had a major impact on several aspects of prison life, including education and in general in the use of new technologies, not only for vocational trainings and education, but in general in prison. Okay, these are the research methods. These are the 3 main tools that we have created to do the research. A first questionnaire that we developed together in Sintra. It was aimed at collecting all the main elements that each partner considered as the main one, as the focal ones for e-learning in prison. Then a second questionnaire in order to do not limit the research only to the observed e-learning course that each partner had observed in prison, but also to provide a country context, and so to provide relevant experiences in the countries in the field of distance learning. And then the third tool, which is the main one, and is the observation grid, which was based on the first questionnaires and that we elaborated with IFED. And it was aimed at collecting the main things about the course observed, and it was divided into several sections in order to collect as much information as possible. This is the content of the country questionnaire. There are only 3 sample questions. The first one is if, in addition to the courses selected for the work of observation, are there any other initiatives of distance training in prison in your country? If so, are those experimental initiatives, uncommon, not so uncommon practices, or a developed system available in most prisons? And then, of course, to provide some descriptions or relevant documents in order to better understand these initiatives. These are the main outcomes, the initial findings of the country research of the 5 questionnaires, so submitted by all the partners. The first one, as we see, says that e-learning in prison is not a common practice, but rather an experimental one. As a matter of fact, this is really very rare in all the 5 countries. The majority of experiences that have been developed until now are then related mostly to universities, so to higher education, and for this reason they are therefore not accessible to a large part of the prison population. We all know that in prison the level of education in average is quite low, so university is not accessible to everyone. To date, e-learning of vocational training, so not of education, is even more rare in prison. But however, in some countries such as Spain and the Netherlands, there is evidence of a future expansion in the field of e-learning in prison. In none of the 5 countries, access to the internet is foreseen due for security reasons. And the last thing is that the COVID-19 pandemic, as I said before, had a strong impact on e-learning in prison, both in a good way. For example, we can say so in Italy, where e-learning in prison was not provided. It was really rare, but it was introduced for education for the first time. Or in a bad way, in other countries where there were already some e-learning courses carried out, but the pandemic caused several organizational problems. These are the content of the observation grid. As we see, there are 10 sections, which are then in turn divided into subsections. The first one is to collect general information about the course that the partner chooses to observe, then about the content of the course, then about how to access the course, then the structures, then information about the participants and the staff. Then we like to ask also if there are some participation or interaction, for example, among students or among the students and their teachers. Then there is a part about resources, human resources and material resources. Then finally on the results and on the level of sustainability and replicability of the course. Okay, so before starting to analyze the first outcomes of the observation, a quick recap on the courses that they have observed. So Italy observed an Italian language course for foreign prisoners provided by the University of Siena. Portugal observed a university course provided by the Open University. Then the Netherlands observed a course aimed at obtaining a specific certificate, a health and safety certificate, which is really useful for work. Then Spain observed an IT training provided by a volunteer association, and France, as for Portugal, observed university courses. We will see later on that Portugal and France have a lot of aspects in common, since they both observed university classes, both provided by the same platform, which is the Moodle platform. Okay, so now, I'm sorry. Okay, so we can see that the e-learning experiences are quite different among them. The content, as I said before, is a university course for France and Portugal. In Italy and Netherlands, the course was about achieving a specific certificate, obtaining a specific certificate for work. And in Spain, the course was aimed at providing transversal working skills. So the providers are different too. We have a university for Italy, France, and Portugal, and the Ministry of Justice, so the prison administration for the Netherlands. And so we have, of course, public funds, public money. Instead, in Spain, we have a voluntary association that is in charge of the course. So the course is paid by is paid through private funds. Then here we have the prisons involved, so the prison that can access to the specific course. There is only one prison in Italy, Spain, and France that is benefiting from the course, several prisons in Portugal, and all the prisons of the country in Netherlands. So that means that the course provided in the Netherlands, it's provided nationwide. Okay, sorry, here. Okay, then delivery methods. As we said before, both in France and in Portugal, we have an offline platforms that have to be periodically synchronized. And this synchronization can, of course, create some problems, especially during the pandemic. Then we have in-person classes in Spain and Netherlands. So here we have regular teachers that are doing face-to-face classes, but are using digital platforms only as supporting tools. Then in Italy, we have live e-learning. So that means that the professors are in the University of Siena, as we said before, and the students are in prisons, but the interactions are live. The course is live, it's not an offline platform. So potential participants, France and Portugal, only a small portion of the prison population can accede to the course because it's university, so high education, and also because both the courses are delivered only in their national languages, so all the foreign inmates cannot accede the course. Then the course in Italy, it's open to a good portion of the prison population, since in the prison of Portazzurro, more than a half of the inmates are foreigners. So this is an Italian language class, and so of course it's really useful for people, foreign people living in Portazzurro, in the prison of Portazzurro. Then finally, we have for Spain and the Netherlands, the course is open to the majority of the prison population, since it's providing for universal scales, working scales. Then interactions. So in France, there are no interactions with teacher or other students. And this is been underlined as a huge problem and a huge source of discouragement for students to going on with the university and the educational path. In Portugal, there are interactions through forums, interactions among students. And in Italy, Spain, and Netherlands, of course, there is interactions because the classes are live, so there are live interactions. Okay, prison staff. We have prison teaching staff in the Netherlands, external teaching staff in Italy, France, and Portugal, and volunteers in Spain. The results, as you can imagine, is a graduation degree, university degree for France and in Portugal, an official certificate in Italy and the Netherlands, and an unofficial certificate in Spain. Here is another interesting things that is worth mentioning is once out of prison, if not inmates, if people, because they're not inmates anymore. So if once out of prison, people can continue the course outside. Yes, for France or Portugal, because they are enrolled to the same university class, and no for Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. So then, so we said that the courses are really different, but the difficulties are really the same. These difficulties are also the potential obstacles to the sustainability and the replication of the e-learning experiences. The main difficulties were concerning resources, so lack of human resources and lack of material resources. In the first case, there are often few people that are deployed to take care of all the aspects of the course, and almost all courses have shortage of technology resources. Then they all stress the several organizational problems. For example, as I said before, the synchronization of platforms, or the difficulty in delivering exams, or the overlapping of the classes with other activities. For example, in Italy, the inmate has to choose whether to attend the course or to work, for example, because the course is provided only in the morning. Finally, we have a high dropout rate, which is quite interesting. The reasons here are different. For the university classes, as I said before, the organizational issues and the lack of interaction discourage many students, while for other courses, the very high turnover of students makes it very difficult to fill the entire class. Okay, so these were the main, the first results of the research. Now we will finish it, and the resource will be a useful thing per se, but it will also lay down the foundation for the analysis of strengths and weaknesses, through which we will build some guidelines and then an ad hoc training course for prison staff and for the civilian personnel working in institution. Okay, so that's it, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you to all the panelists and to the public, and then we can start with the question. One first question that we can do is for all the countries, and is what were the main difficulty you have faced with prison administration? Then someone want to respond then?
So the main difficulty is the lack of the human resource, I think, because there's no time and no space to do more that they do inside the prison sometimes, but we have a good relationship, and we try to decide together the best moment and the best way to do something. So I think the most important problem is this, because there is few people, less people than the necessary.
Okay, maybe I can also say something about this. We have actually good contacts with the several prisons in the country. My colleague Peter has been a head of a prison school for many years, so it's not so difficult to enter the prison. But it's sort of the same story as Sara was telling. It is, especially with the COVID situation, it was very difficult to enter the prison and to do other things or do projects in prison. It's getting better now again, but they were even more careful in Dutch prisons than they were elsewhere in the country.
Oh, okay, in Portugal it's the same. The lack of research, human research and material research too. The COVID situation and the bureaucracy is difficult to had different volunteers in the prison are almost impossible because they are not legitimated by the ministries, and the directors of the prison are, I don't know, sometimes they look like they are afraid. We have good relationships with them, but they are afraid of doing more and to open the prison to outside. Open not to the inmates run away, but for us to come in. And I think it's, and the lack of research, human research to provide what we think it's good and interesting to the education and the system of learning distance. No PCs, no internet, no intranet. I think it's difficult. I don't know.
Thank you. Then if you want to answer, then otherwise we can pass to the next question. Then the next question is how interested are the inmates in participating in this program?
I can say something about that. there is a part of the grid where we were asking the level of satisfaction of the participants to their class, to each e-learning provided, so in each prison. And I think that the level of satisfaction in general is quite high. But as I said before, the organizational things is the main thing. The problem, the lack of resources, are always discouraging people to continue to follow the educational path. So I think that the main thing, everything is going over there, the lack of resources. As Joana said before, if I'm not wrong, in the Coimbra prison, there is only one person who is in charge of the entire course. So if, for example, she is sick, the course cannot be provided. So I think that being someone who is in prison and who choose to attend training, a class, all these difficulties can be really hard to overcome. So probably even if the will to participate and to obtain more skills is high, the organizational problems discourage people to really benefit from the potential of the course.
In France, like I said in my presentation, we lost in our program 9 students over 10 in the last 12 months, and of course we ask why we lost so many people, and the official answer is COVID, but personally I think differently. A positive thing is that I believe that the student could benefit from an outstanding support, and most of the teachers involved are very disappointed. But the point is that the technology used for this experimentation, the Moodle box, is not really mature. The synchronization of the learning platform too difficult and not so reliable. There were too many opportunities for the students to get discouraged just because the technology is not reliable and robust. Another point was the poor availability of the classroom, and the teachers had to print the course and paper, allowing students to work in their cells. So it's not that does not make sense. So the technology used today in France, this technology is not appropriate to the situation, I think.
To finish, I will want to add, not to be repetitive, but it's of course the lack of tools and the staff that we already have in Spain too, as my partner said, and even all the inmates are interested. Even it's complicated to focus the learning process on the inmates, on the real person that are already in the prisons, because instead of having a lot of tools or classes or computer or internet access, even we have all of this, it's complicated because we really need to focus on their needs. So it's like in real education in primary or in high school, it's important to focus on the real interest and their needs.
Okay, perfect then. Thank you. Then one question about funding, about the availability of funding. Then if Sophia, you can answer on this, or other person. Yeah.
Yes, as I said before, So I think that, yeah, except for the Spanish course, which is funded through private money, so because it's a volunteer association who's working in the prison. And here also it's interesting to notice that all the resources are provided by the association, which in turn obtains the material resources from donations from individual and private entities. So most of the resources are from donation and are sometimes poor resources. The other country instead have whole public funds. So we have universities, we have prison administrations, we have local, regional funds altogether. If I'm not wrong, in several courses there is like joint funds, so money from different sources. So university and, as I said, prison administration are the main ones. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, as I said before, we're still in the phase of processing all the data collected. So, we will get more thorough informations about that. I hope next week, then we will see each other. But the lack of funds, it's of course always threatened for the sustainability and for the replication of the course. For example, if the voluntary association, I don't know, stops to receive donations, so the course finished, the course ends. And also in the other countries, if for example, I don't know, a prison director decided that their funds are not to be invested in that course, this is a problem too. So either if they are public funds or private funds, there are always a risk of losing that money, which I think they're not a lot. I don't know if someone else has something more specific to add.
I think that we can go to the next question. And then the next question for Ed is like, how are the course chosen? Do the mates order the course or do you propose them directly?
Okay. Well, I don't work in prison anymore, but in most prisons in the Netherlands, there is a sort of basic package that people can choose from, and this specific course that has been sort of researched in this project is offered in any Dutch prison. So inmates can go to the education department in the prison, and usually it starts with a yeah, just a little talk with a teacher, and the teacher explains you can do this, you can do that. And then this course is on safety and health. It's a very popular course. They sort of try to direct many inmates to this course. So it's yeah, well, that's actually it.
Okay, thank you. Then the last question, like to Julia, is like, do the implication of the pandemic combined with the technology leave any implication for education in the prison context?
Can you repeat me again the question, please?
If do the implication of the pandemic combined with the technology leave any implication for education in the prison context?
Yes, of course. Of course, I think that the pandemic, it's horrible moment in our lives, but the positive aspect is that we can use our digital tools that we already have, and it's important to use all the tools that we have. For what? Okay, for create impact, to change our society, and of course, to have an access with the inmates and with the staff in prisons, and to get a bit closer with them, because it was so complicated to get inside the prisons and to work with them face to face. But we have this positive aspect that we have a lot of tools, and we can make Zooms, and we can create dissemination and a lot of, yes, TIC tools that we already have. So we have managed. Sergio, your microphone is off.
Thank you. Then I will pass the microphone to Frederick, and for the finalization. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, on today's panel for presenting such interesting work and such. I mean, I'm gonna go take the ball from Julia and say that it's a little bit encouraging that we can still make education in prison, even in perhaps the worst of time. During the pandemic. Let's hope we can move forward and improve education in prison for everybody, not only for higher education, but for every adult who wants to learn. I'm going to take also this occasion to thank everyone in the UNESCO Chair of Applied Research in Education in Prison for organizing these webinars. I also want to thank the UIL, the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, and the Institute for Cooperation for the Education of Adults for helping us organizing this webinar series. Today is the last webinar of our series. We hopefully we are thinking of upgrading the event, and we will keep you in touch. Please subscribe to our newsletter to have more information. Also, there are a lot of questions that we couldn't attend to this morning, unfortunately, due to lack of time. So we will actually assemble them and find a way to answer the questions as best as we can. Probably when we will announce the results of the S.T.E.P research that will be published recently, we will, of course, announce these results in our newsletter. So without further ado, I will wish everyone a very good day, and thank you everyone in the audience and on the panel today for their presentation. And we hope to see you soon in our newsletter, in our website, and on YouTube, where today's webinar will be available shortly. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.